What's going on, Reef Builders? I'm Jake Adams. Thank you for joining me for a video from the studio where we talk about all the cool stuff that we got on holiday that I'm trying to start. This is local fish store Saturday during the Friday and Saturday of last weekend where people went crazy buying a bunch of stuff, and we need a lot of stuff for the studio any given day. And I was kind of saving up some of the things I wanted to buy because I like to try to visit every store in the Denver area and give them one purchase to try to help pad their numbers. So we did that over Friday and Saturday. If you guys follow us on Instagram, we hit up 5 stores that were in the northern range that were kind of spread apart, so there was a lot of driving involved. And then the second day on Saturday, we hit up 10 stores in the Denver area, and there's a few that we just didn't get to, but we hit up 15 stores and we showed our support, and we went out there with a list. This is the list right here, this part right here. So as some of you guys may or may not know, I'm also a freshwater aquarist. And between the freshwater stuff, the saltwater stuff, and a little bit of the dry goods, I spent $2,000 at 15 stores, and this is what I got. I feel like this is one of those YouTube style videos where it's a mystery unboxing, even though it wasn't a mystery, but I spent $2,000 at 15 stores, showed a lot of support, got a bunch of coral, a few fish, and a few products. So this was my hit list: cardinals, neons, and green neons. Ram and checkerboard cichlids, and zebra pleco. So if it's crossed off, it's because I got it. We're not going to show you guys that, but I did get the neons. I did get the Simulons green neons. A chunk of the budget went to zebra plecos because I love them and I wanted to grow my little colony. So we won't show this on video, but that was a chunk of it. As far as dry goods, I needed some nitrate reagent, some frozen food, live blackworms. I didn't buy those except for the reagent because I ended up buying so much more on corals. Like I spent a lot more than I expected, honestly. And then some things I was hoping to fill in was emerald crabs, peppermint shrimp, copper band. Considered a few. Once again, we bought nice coral at every shop, so I passed on those. I did find a nice colony of the original neon green polyp leather. I found a colony of Christmas tree worm that was not for sale. It was on hold for somebody. Some pH 10 calibration solution, bar valves, calcium reactor media, and return. So let's start out by taking a look at just some of the things that I got. At the first store, Animal Tractions, I bought this really funky, overpriced barb, this Y barb. It was like, you can see from the price, $17.50. It's funny because like I don't have a need for this, but if I ever did have a need for it, I'll be glad that I have it. pH 10 calibration solution, always in short supply here. I don't know why. It's much easier to find 4 and 7. So I bought some sets. It's really important too. The first shop we went to, they had some pH 10 that was about 3 years expired. So make sure to check the back for those expiration dates. So we got a full set of calibration solution, pH 10, this barbed valve, which is again useful on just like in a pinch. Yeah, just found one. I was looking for more. Fish crew gave us a nice little towel, nice little glass. That's not a part of it. Got my Hannah nitrate reagent. And then these, Sea Lab number 28. I have to confess, these things have been around forever. I've always thought they were super neat, and I've actually never used them. So I bought 10 bucks worth with these 3 blocks. They're supposed to automatically kind of dissolve in the water, and I've heard the stories, but I actually never tried it. So I think I might toss one of these in the Nano Reef tank, which a lot of you guys have been asking for an update. So we're gonna get around to it and finally start dosing it after nearly 2 years. So that is kind of the preamble to what we have so far. Well, let's take a look at the corals that we got and see what about 1,500 bucks can get you across a bunch of different stores. I think one really cool question to answer before you ask is, how do I pick corals, right? So what I consider rare corals are corals you don't even know the names of. And so sometimes I pick those up, and a lot of times I'll pick up a coral because it's good size, good price, but rarely will I buy a coral because of the way it looks currently. I almost always invest in corals for how they're going to look. So between size, price, wish list, and potential, those are like the basic metrics that I like to use for selecting my corals. So let's walk over this tank. Just gonna point out a couple. There's only 2 over here. Most of the corals start out in the coral flats, but these are like low energy, lower light corals, and I knew they were gonna go in this tank, so I went ahead and put them in here. So one of them is this nice green Tonga scalemia. Used to be known as Scalimia vicensis. I'm still gonna call them that, Scalimia vicensis. So I have an orange one already, and I got this green one right here. And then if you come around the corner, I actually got this nice Blastomusa. I know it won't really show on camera, but it's a colony that's got like that pistachio mouths, and then kind of like neon green tiger stripes. You Blastomusa lovers will know how Blastomusa can get those kind of stripes. And you know, it's just a nice colony with the right price, and it's gonna be a great fit for this aquarium. And I think the majority of the corals over here in the coral flats, so let's go take a look at those. All right, so this is also in no particular order, but one of the things that I got were these Pavona encrusted coral holders. No one had even asked about them, and I got these at Tropical Pet Oasis, and he made me offer a price, and I was like, I'll take 2 for that price, because they're just encrusted like hexagons. Now, these are made by Aquamatic. I think the European viewers will be a lot more familiar with them, but I just love Pavona decussata in the way that it just will encrust the bejesus out of everything, and then once it's mature, it'll start putting up those branches. So we already have a Triceratops skull replica that is covered by some flat chunks of this, and I just love investing in this. I feel like I'm investing in paint that I can use in the future to apply to other corals. Let's see, I'm gonna have to go across and try to remember everything that we got. This was a really cool rock that I got from the fish reef. This one was a tank teardown. Just a nice rock with a bunch of orange zoanthids. Not quite bam bams, but really orange. And then these 2 kind of rainbowy orange bubble tips. That'll be a really nice addition to the collection. So big thanks to Josh, because he just gave me that since it was from a tank teardown and they had multiple chunks that they weren't gonna all sell. This was a really cool piece right here. I got this at Tropical Pet Oasis also. This is a green slimer, and I just loved it because it was a big chunk. This is at the beginning of the day, right? A big chunk, just the shaggiest polyps, and it had an acro crab in it, so I was like, yeah, you know what? I actually have more room for green slimer in my life, which will come in handy when we hit the other tank. So that was a pretty cool colony to get. Here we have a small piece of bow tie blasters. Well, I'm not the biggest zoanthid dude, so I don't know for sure, but they're pink and they got a little bow tie around each mouth. So that was a really fun piece right there. And then if you come over here, there was a really nice kind of a blue favia with red mouths. That was a really cool fair price piece. Here's a colony of kind of a small polyp, small corallite goniastria. This might be a coelastria now, but I've always been a fan of this particular coral for being pink and then having those kind of like spokes around the oral disc that are green, real nice and green. That was a fair price. It had been fragged up into a few different frags. I wish I could have got the original piece because that's a coral that's always been close to my heart. And again, I'm not a huge zoanthid guy, but I bought a Palithoa, like a really weird Palithoa right here. It kind of has like a gold disc in the middle of the oral disc. Surely you can't see it very well. It's been in lower light, so it's not super bright, but this was a hitchhiker that Tommy had picked off of something, and I can't remember exactly what. But it's fair price, and really careful about the Palithoas. So now we're gonna trade sides and see what we have on this side, and I know I'm gonna forget some. So this guy right here is a little bit sad. This was also from a tank teardown. He hasn't opened up and polyped out yet, but this is a nice golden crowned leather coral with semi-long polyps, but they were flowy and attractive, and you can see I like my soft corals, right? I got a bunch of different soft corals here. What else do we have? All right, so over here, I literally have to move the pistachio capnella out of the way so we can see it, but this is one of those times where I definitely bought the coral for the price, right? So there was these 2 Lord chunks right here that were 35 bucks each, and they both have like a certain degree of pink to them. And again, they're not like bleeding radioactive fluorescent corals, and they were like 35 bucks a piece for a small colony. I was like, hey, I think I can really get those polyps to shine. And then another piece was this lord, this weird, actually I'm not even sure if this is lord. This could actually be a big Micromusa species, just bright red with some speckling, and the price was right, so I got that one. Ooh, water's nice and cold. It's actually refrigerating my blood. I love it. And then a really cool single frag of Moslea with like a purple mouth. So again, nothing to scream home about, but super cool little frag. Wife really loved this piece, so we picked it up. And I think this is the only Moslea currently in our collection. So I'm very proud to say that the anemone system is now in full swing. We have a bunch of anemones here on the top, and they were running basically filterless for, what was it, Evan, like 6 weeks?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. And these were like separated from the whole system, just running off a sponge filter. So the anemones in here were their own system. But the anemones, we actually put them in line with the old system before. All we had to do was turn it on. That was really awesome. The anemones look great. But one thing that's developing here is this is going to become a chalice coral section. And this is where I'm going to put my shrooms. So I have one place to put all my shrooms in a lower light, lower flow, higher nutrient environment. And one of the corals that I picked up was this one right here. This was fragged off a big colony. I'm sure it looks like doo-doo on camera, but I got to see the other pieces. This was fresh cut from tank trade-in. That's going to be a common theme here, and had a lot of streaks to it. And this one didn't have the streaks, but it just looked chunkier and healthier. So I picked up that piece from the fish reef. That was a fair price. And then if we move over here to this tank, there's a lot of goodies happening in here as well. I just went and turned off the flow. All right, so one of the less obvious pieces is a coral that I've been wanting to add to the collection, like deliberately for a long time, has been Pavona cactus. And it's just, I mean, you can find it here and there, but you just really, it's not gonna come at you. So I found this really nice chunk of Pavona cactus at Merman's new location. And you could see how it compares to the closely related mint chip Pavona. So this is Pavona de frondifera, I think. And then this is Pavona cactus. So you can see they have very similar texture, but they'll grow out incredibly differently. Here you'll see I've got 4 or 5 big chunks of green slimer. Like right when I got to Aquatic Art, someone had just dropped off like a bucket full. I actually grabbed the smaller pieces because, man, I'm totally on a Staghorn kick. So my old salt reefer friends, they'll feel me on this. But man, I can't ever get over just really good looking Staghorns. And if I have too much green slimer, so be it. Big thanks to Aquatic Art. He's going to be trading me for those in the future. One of the first shops that we hit on the second day, not the first, maybe like the third, was Todd's Tropical Fish. This is one of those places that I've been talking about on Reef Therapy for a long time. A freshwater store that has a saltwater section that you can find some treasures at, some real treasures. So I got this colony of not Monopora digitata green, but a small whole colony of branching green Samacora. And I have a couple frags, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to get like a small colony. I think it was like 60 bucks, totally encrusted on this base. We've already cut it from its base, put it on a new base. The base is over in a different tank just to see how it's gonna grow best. And then one frag just kind of happened in the mix. And then this right here is a very common thin branching staghorn that was overgrown. This whole thing was 60 bucks. Again, if you look at it closely, it is not in awesome shape, but I know what this coral is because I have another small colony of it and I know what it's gonna do. And so when I see this coral, look how curved and weirdly tapering those branches are. This thing was grown in like a medium energy, medium lighting environment, but when you get super happy like our regular frag is, it's just an awesome freaking coral. So we're gonna actually trim all the pieces off the branches and just basically salvage all the frags. We already did it a little bit in transit. Over here you can see just a small assortment of frags that just happened while we were transporting it. And gonna have a lot of this beautiful, almost like a rainbow tip thin branch stag, and because it's thin branch, it grows really nice and fast. And here's another one that I don't think anyone else would pick up. I got this from Elite Reef. This is a turbinaria. I've actually seen these on pictures from West Australia. I do not know what the gray-white lines are, but I have seen pictures of these before that are gray or bluish gray with bright green polyps. And so this guy was a fair price. And again, I didn't buy it for the way he looks now. I bought it for the way he's going to look. And I have another example of a turbinaria very similar right here in the corner. This guy is super green. I swear this guy was bleached out for 2 years until I finally realized my nutrients were super low. So imagine that coral with a blue-gray base and green polyps. It's gonna be super nice and juicy. So the last frag I want to show you in this system before we move over to some of the other systems is there's a small frag here of like, it's just literally a seashell that's got about like 20 small red discosoma shrooms on it. Really beautiful color. I think that was like 40 bucks. So like a mini colony in the making once they grow out. But a few of the actual frags that I got, there's a couple right here. These were from Biggs Lagoon, I believe. And these were part of like a buy one, get one. I do believe that they are Bizarro, and they were just too cheap to pass up. I got a lot of Bizarro already, but just like the Pavona, the Pavona that I got on the coral holders, I want to grow out a lot of Bizarro to have and encrust on a lot of different corals. So if we come over here to the tank that's bluing out quite a bit, just because it's the time of day, this is the Christmas tree worm rock tank. Oh my God, this was such a cool score. This was a mini colony of Micromusa wellsii, kind of grayish mantle with a neon pistachio oral disc. That was 50 bucks, you guys. 50 bucks. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, man, that is not a frag. When corals sit long enough, they become a mini colony, and it's awesome. And that guy clearly wants to live. And then here in the back was a random piece, it's just too cheap to pass up, of like really branchy dendrophilia. I think it's dendrophilia. I've seen them branching, but this one was like hyper branching. So I went for it because I knew I have a tank right here where I grow a bunch of stuff. This, I believe, is a small lobophilia. I'm not sure, but when I see like kind of decent LPS like this, hey, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance on it because one of the corals that has been on my hit list for a long time is a West Pacific lobophilia called Lobophilia corymbosa. And it's basically branching. So it makes just these small corallites right next to each other, grows like kind of like an overgrown candy coral, if you follow me there. And then a couple corals that I won't grab right now. Here's just a Blastomusa merletti. I've been collecting these a little bit more because when you beef them up and you get them really happy, a very large merletti will get polyps almost the size of like a small wellsii. So I'm starting to invest more in the merlettis that I have in my collection. This was probably one of the rarest, like actually rare corals that I got. This is Pavona duodenai or clavis. There's a species of Pavona, I feel like I've gotten a few Pavonas already, that like grows really massive. So like, if that's what I think it is, it'll grow like a giant lobe. No branches, no fronds, no plates, just like one giant lobe, and just has a really, really cool texture to it. Let's see, what else we got? This was a really nice underpriced Lord frag. This was from Biggs Lagoon, I think, but it's like, it's not super colorful right now, but it's kind of like this wagon wheel plaid pattern of kind of a ruby red with a green mouth, kind of pistachio colored spokes, and then a little bit of bluish purple, you know, that kind of the Lord purple. It's not like in your face purple, it's not neon purple, a little bit of purple around the mouth. So that was a super cool price. The Chalice coral frag right next to it is, man, I'm a sucker for orange chalices. If I find a good one, like I just can't not do it because I just feel like they've always been awesome. So I'm always gonna love them. And then another coral that I will never refuse, virtually ever, is a good piece of Turbinaria huronensis. So you can see I've got a piece right next to it that I've had for a while, bright green. This is the only huronensis I've ever had actually that has polyps out all the time. All my other huronensis, polyps only come out at night, like a dendrophilia, to which they're related. So this one's got polyps out like crazy. This one has no polyps, but I'm pretty sure that in time, this one will develop like that other one. And since that one is doing super well, I went ahead and put this guy right here. All right, so we got just a couple more corals to show you guys. Yeah, if you want to go around there. This was literally on my hit list. A branching red Lobophilia corymbosa with those thin coral or smaller coralites. Coralites will get up to about 2 inches in diameter before they start splitting into small coralites themselves. And you can see this one right here is figure 8. And it's just such a classic West Pacific stony coral that you'll find. And sometimes it's like really like a dominant LPS coral. Very happy to score that. That one came from Keeping It Reef. And then if you look right down there, we have a little cameo from our abalone hanging out, checking out how things are going. Let's see, I think there's one more over here in my mind. I'm sure I'm gonna forget it. This is also a coral that has been on my list for a long time, since the studio. I've had it before, but this is, I don't know, Corky sea finger, but it's Eunesia. And I was lucky enough to find a rock with 2 colonies on it, right? 2 big chunks. So not just like a small 3 to 4 inch single stub, but when this is really happy, and well fed, the polyps get the size of like xenia polyps, and they have huge pinnules, not unlike the tattoo on my arm. So I was very happy to find the right piece of this coral on our local fish store Saturday crawl. It was sincerely very satisfying to put in the effort to spend 2 days driving around to more than a dozen saltwater heavy aquarium stores and, you know, picking up some of the devices I need. So a lot of corals I probably didn't need, and a lot of freshwater fish that, you know, I kind of keep that on the side as my hobby. But if you want to see more of that kind of accessory, ancillary stuff, make sure to follow us on Instagram. You know, we don't post junk on there. We're really trying to share some cool stories and pictures with you all. Also, as a rare aside, if you enjoy this merch, like the Reef Builders hat, we have a very rare discount code on the merchandise here on the Reef Builders store. The link will be pinned in the comments and in the description, so you can't miss it. We almost never promote ourselves so much as others, so if you really like some of our merch and shirts, I'm only wearing the hat today, not the shirt, but go to store.reefbuilders.com, you'll find it there. But you know, I think it's really important for us to support our local fish stores. If you guys picked up, you know, any number of things on this local fish store Saturday holiday, that is every year, by the way, let us know down in the comments what you picked up and you know, things that you couldn't get anywhere else. I really hope you enjoyed this content. If you made it this far, for sure, you probably already subscribed, but if you're not, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, because if it seems like we've been a little bit light on the video releases lately, it's because we've been working really hard in the background on our mega collaboration between ourselves, Ecotech Marine, and Aquarium Design Group, where we're gonna have a slew of videos across a few different channels showing the process of building out a reef tank and a planet tank using Ecotech Marine gear and the corals that we sent them a couple videos ago. So if you haven't seen that, a lot of eye candy. So thank you so much for joining me on this video. I think I checked off everything I wanted to tell you about so far this week, and I'll catch you guys on another one very soon. Later, guys.